Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Jinzo deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this deck is a super fun deck to be able to play because you can actually lock down all the trap cards on the field, which is absolutely insane. I've been working on this deck a lot recently and I have some really awesome tech cards in this deck that make this deck super spicy. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name, script every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Trap Master Jinzo. This card is an absolutely insane card that has a super simple effect that while this card's on the field, trap cards are negated. This card is super nostalgic, an extremely powerful card, and super easy to get on the field in this deck. I then play 3 copies of Jinzo the Machine Menace. This card is a definite 3 of in the deck because it helps us get our copies of Jinzo onto our side of the field extremely quickly. And this card can actually special summon itself to your side of the field because it has a really unique effect that if a trap card is face up on the field or in either player's graveyard, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, it becomes a level 6 monster until the end of the turn. And then during the main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card to special summon a Jinzo from your hand or graveyard, and then you can destroy all trap cards that your opponent controls, and if a card is set, you reveal it, which is a really good effect to be able to just look at all of your opponent's back row and then pop all of the trap cards that they have. I then play just a single copy of Psychic Mega Cyber. Psychic Mega Cyber is then you can tribute this card and then place, or you can tribute this card and then place that opponent's monster face up in their spell and trap card zone as a continuous trap. And you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. That's a really powerful effect to be able to use on this card to be able to get rid of basically any monster by just tributing it and turning it into a trap card. I then play 3 copies of Psychic Bounder. Psychic Bounder is a great normal summon in the deck because it's going to get you to so many different plays because it has the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Jinzo or a spell or trap card that's specifically listed in its text from your deck to your hand. And when another monster that you control is attacked by an opponent's monster before damage calculation, you can destroy both the attacking monster and this card, which is a really cool effect to not only be able to out your opponent's monsters, but to be able to protect your other monsters that you have on the field, like your copies of Jinzo. I then play a single copy of Jinzo Returner. Jinzo Returner is a good 1-of in the deck that can be sent to graveyard with your copy of Psychic Wave, because it has the ability that this card can attack your opponent directly, and when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Jinzo from your graveyard and destroy it during the end phase, which is a really good effect just to be able to just get this card to be able to basically bring back Jinzo to your side of the field, which is a really, really good effect. I then play 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide is a great normal summon along with your copy of Psychic Bounder, but this card helps you get into some really interesting tech engines in the deck. That when this card is normal summon, you can special summon out a level 3 Fiend monster from your hand or deck, but it has its effects negated. But it can also not be used as a synchro material, which is totally fine because you're going to use this card to step into a copy of Cherubini to be able to go in for your Phantom Knight engine, which helps us get our traps on the field and in the graveyard for our copy of Jinzo the Machine Menace to be able to special summon itself to your side of the field, which is an extremely powerful effect while also setting up some negations in this deck. I then play a single copy of Skarm. Skarm is a really good card in the deck because during the end phase, if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you can add a level 3 Dark Fiend monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. But the really cool thing about your Burning Abyss cards in this deck is if you open up any Burning Abyss card plus a copy of Jinzo, you can special summon them to your side of the field if you don't control a spell or trap, and then immediately tribute summon out your copy of Jinzo, which is really cool to be able to just instantly get Jinzo onto the field. I then play a single copy of Graph. Graph is a good 1-of as well because if it's sent to the grave, you get to special summon out a Burning Abyss monster from your deck to your side of the field, which is always going to be your copy of Seer. And when Seer is sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your Burning Abyss monsters in the grave and special summon it back to your field, which is a really good effect to be able to bring back your copy of Cherubini to then link climb into other cards. I then play a single copy of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. Silent Boots is really good because you can banish it from the graveyard to add a Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which can be extremely helpful in the deck to be able to grab cards like your copy of Fogblade, or even the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine directly from your deck to your hand. I then play a single copy of the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. Ancient Cloak can banish it from the cell from the graveyard to be able to add from your deck to your hand the Phantom Knight card, which is really important that you can only add the Phantom Knight cards like your copy of the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine, which it cannot add cards like Phantom Knight of Fogblade because it does not have the V in its name, which is the only downside to this card. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, I'm going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn because it's super easy to get Jinzo into the graveyard to be able to bring it back with cards like this, which is really nice. I then play a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is a really good one of the deck to be able to send cards that you need in the graveyard when you need them. I then play a single copy of Change of Heart. Change of Heart is a really powerful card going second in this deck to be able to take an opponent's monster and then tribute summon out a Jinzo, which is just a really powerful old school combo with this deck. 2 copies of Cyber Energy Shock. This card is a really neat card because if you control a Jinzo, then you can target a card on the field and destroy it. Then if it was a trap card, then you can apply one of these effects to negate the effects of one face-up card on the field until the end of this turn, or all Jinzo monsters you control gain 800 attack. And you can only activate one of these cards per turn, but it is a quick play spell, so you can set it to the field to give you additional pops, which is really cool. I then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness just to dig into the deck a little bit further to get to our combo pieces, which is very important for this build. I then play 3 copies of Psychic Wave. Psychic Wave is a really good card to get to in this deck because this card helps out so much, because it has the ability, if you control a machine monster, you can specifically send Jinzo from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and then inflict 600 points of damage to your opponent. And during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the grave, you can banish this card from your grave, and then target a machine monster in your graveyard and send a Jinzo monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, add that targeted monster to your hand, which is really cool to be able to send your copy of Jinzo Returner off the second effect of this card to be able to bring back your copy of Jinzo from the graveyard, and also set up for cards like your copy of Monster Reborn to be able to send Jinzo from your deck to the grave off its first effect while also doing 600 points of burn damage. This card is very helpful in the deck as a 3-of. And then play 3 copies of Law of the Cosmos. Law of the Cosmos is a really good card because it lets you basically search out your copies of Jinzo, because it has the ability your opponent can set a trap card directly from their hand or deck. Then if they did, you get to special summon a Jinzo from your deck. And if they did not, you get to add a Jinzo or a monster that's specifically listed in its card text from your deck to your hand. So regardless, with this card, you're either going to get to special summon a Jinzo and turn off the trap card that they just set, or you're going to be able to add a monster that specifically mentions Jinzo or a Jinzo itself directly from your deck to your hand. So this card is a definite 3-of in the deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. And we actually do play traps in this deck. So for our traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of the Phantom Knights of Fogblade. Fogblade is just a really good card that basically is like a Fiendish Chain and a Monster Reborn tied into one another, which is really powerful. It has the ability to activate this card's effect by targeting one effect monster on the field. You negate that monster's effect just like a copy of Fiendish Chain, but that monster cannot attack or be attacked while this card is on the field, which is really kind of a neat effect because once you summon Jinzo, it'll turn this card off, which is kind of cool. This card also has the ability when this card leaves the field, or when that monster leaves the field, destroy this card, and you can also banish this card from the grave, target a Phantom Knight monster in your grave, and special summon that monster, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is a pretty good effect to be able to use with this card. I then play 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. Shade Brigandine is a great 3-of in the deck that can special summon itself to your side of the field as a level 4 monster, which is really helpful to be able to, again, tribute for your copy of Jinzo. This card also comes in extremely handy to be able to go into all sorts of different plays by just flipping this card face up and using it as a link material to climb into some really awesome link monsters. I then play 3 copies of Call of the Haunted. Now I know this is very old school, but this is actually a really good strategy in the deck to be able to send your copy of Jinzo from deck to graveyard off copies of Psychic Wave, set your copy of Call of the Haunted, and then flip Call of the Haunted during your opponent's turn to be able to lock down trap cards, which is really good in this deck. It also turns off the effect of Call of the Haunted, that if it gets destroyed, it destroys the copy of Jinzo, which is really kind of a neat effect. So you play the 3 copies of Call of the Haunted in the deck because it's super old school, super nostalgic, and just a really good card in this deck. You can also play Back to the Front if you want to, if you don't want to play the continuous trap card, but it's kind of cool to play this card because it helps out with your copy of Jinzo the Machine Menace. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I'm going to be playing a single copy of Jinzo Layered. Jinzo Layered is a really neat card that has the ability to detach a material from this card and then target a face-up monster your opponent controls, and you take control of it into the end phase of this turn. But it cannot activate its effects or declare an attack. And if a trap card is on the field, you can treat a monster, and if you do, destroy one face-up card on the field, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just use to be able to get rid of one of your opponent's monsters and take control of another monster, which is really an awesome effect. This card is super easy to summon in the deck and just a really good card. And then play a single copy of number 39, Utopia Beyond, which helps us OTK in this deck, because if this card is XZ summon, the attack of all monsters your opponent currently control becomes 0, which is really good to help you OTK. One copy of Vampire Sheridan. Vampire Sheridan is just a really good card overall to play as a rank 6 in the deck. I play a single copy of Breaksword. Breaksword helps us pop cards on the field and helps us go into this card super easy in this particular build. One copy of Levenair the Sea Dragon, because you can bring back your banished cards that you banish off your copy of your Lure of Darkness. One copy of Cicada King, because it is a negate in this deck, so it's a really good one of. One copy of 47 Nightmare Shark, because it can attack directly, which is a really good effect. One copy of Downer Magician, because it's super easy to make Downer Magician on top of any of our rank 3 monsters. And then a single copy of AA Zeus. AA Zeus is extremely easy to make in the deck, and just an overall fantastic card to board wipe the field. And it's just a really good card. I then play a single copy of Boral Sword Dragon, because I don't usually summon out access code in this deck because I play all dark link monsters in the deck, so I'm just playing Boral Sword to OTK the opponent, which is just a really good card overall. One copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff. One copy of the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardige, which you're always going to be summoning in this deck. This card is absolutely insane, because during the main phase you can send a Phantom Knight monster from your deck to the graveyard to set a Phantom Knight spell trap directly from your deck, and since you're sending your copy of Silent Boots or your copy of Ancient Cloak, you're going to be able to banish them to get an additional search, which is really good. I then play a single copy of Cherubini to work with our copy of Tour Guide to be able to step into this card, to be able to send an additional monster from our deck to graveyard, basically sending either Ancient Cloak or Silent Boots to the graveyard to get us an additional search, which is really good, because it can send from your deck to the graveyard any level 3 monster, which is really nice. One copy of IP Masquerena to be able to make Unicorn during the opponent's turn, and finally a single copy of Blockade Borg Blocker. You might be looking at this card and going, wait, you don't play any continuous spells and you don't play any field spells. Why? Well, the only reason I actually play this card is because it's a dark machine monster that you can make at the end of your Cherubini combo along with your Rusty Bardige on the field, basically putting both of these on your side of the field to have a dark machine monster to go with your copy of Psychic Wave, which is really good. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a super fun deck to be able to play with. If you guys have never played a Jinzo deck before, you definitely should give it a try, because it's a really fun deck to be able to play, especially being able to summon out such a classic old school monster like Jinzo is just super, super cool. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.